Today we're taking a groundbreaking leap in the world of shape-based tactics RPG games, with the first shape-based tactics RPG game, featuring a heinous three-sided shape no one hath not yet seen nor hereto dreamed of. It's Triangle Strategy. Triangle Strategy is new from Square Enix, and contrary to popular belief, the title doesn't relate to gameplay. Gone is the rock paper scissors bullshit triangle attack system from that lesser tactics game series I've spent the last 7 decades playing. This game's triangle basis is scales, namely the scales of conviction, representing 3 qualities of humanity that you don't really need at your day job: utility, morality, and liberty. Dialogue choices you make in the game align with one of each of these principles, and based on which principles you choose more, they affect things like certain story outcomes and which characters join your party later on. My first run so far has been leaning into morality, as I am morally bankrupt in real life. To create the illusion we already live in known as democracy, there's also a voting phase in some parts of the game, in which you and your party decide the next chapter. This again affects the story, though you can just attempt to steamroll your party members to get them to vote your way. Democracy is awesome. On to the only thing that matters, gameplay. Split into 2 parts, exploration and combat. Exploration is where you gallivant around an area, chatting, gathering lore, items, and relevant information you can use to incept your subjects when voting. This is a nice touch, not usually seen in tactics games, and gives a relaxing break from combat that helps build the world. There's also the encampment, a chiller tent you can visit almost any time during gameplay. Here you can stock up, upgrade weapons and classes, and start mental drunken bar fights for practice, which can earn you XP, items, and shame. I will say that grinding in this way is sometimes necessary on hard mode, but it is mitigated by the fact that you can effectively grind for XP, money, and upgrade materials all at the same time, not to mention testing out new combinations and sweet tactics with your characters. Next up, combat. It is pretty enjoyable, and players of past tactics games will immediately appreciate it. Each character has a unique class, weapon, and abilities. The game introduces TP, a mechanic very similar to its 8-legged, estranged mutant Cthulhu cousin, Octopath Traveller. You gain 1 point every turn to a starting max of 3, and can use them for different abilities. A new feature is Quietus points. I don't know what that means. They allow you to throw out a Yu-Gi-Oh card as an extra action on your turn, but you can only use 2 per battle to start with. Another cool new feature is the follow-up pincer attack, where you can trap a bad guy in a pugilism sandwich, and both characters tenderize the beef. This can even be done with a ranged unit. Speaking of range, the higher you are, the more damage you can do. The game also gives critical hits for back attacks. For sweet balance, your enemies can pull these things off too. Lastly, the story. It's your fairly common medieval affair, with characters usually saying things in 7 words that could be accomplished with 2. You play as Serenoa, the young leader of a house in the nice River Greenery Kingdom, bordered by the salty desert religious nation, Woolulu, and the oppressive, snowy mountain, iron, Soviet but somehow Germanic nation. They've all recently signed a peace treaty to share resources, and peace. All is relatively well until Chapter 4. Back to Serenoa. He's getting married to a flaming, displaced race outcast lady named Frederica, and many of the characters you fight with are members of or support his house. He and his best buddy Prince Roland gradually take on more responsibility as the game progresses. One obvious comparison to make, story-wise, is to the first Final Fantasy Tactics game, or War of the Lions in the remake. Where I found that game to have an overly convoluted political plotline, Triangle Strategy is fairly easy to follow. A nice, tension-relieving touch is that there is no permadeath among your characters. After playing a few chapters, you can see why. Going out of your way to keep every single unit alive, like some sort of reverse Stalinist madman, is exceedingly difficult. Conversely, I think this is realistic too. Units retreat rather than die outright, and this adds a dynamic seesaw element to battles. The characters are reasonably varied, but I think their personalities are somewhat limited by the constricting formal speech of the setting, and the game can drag quite a bit with exposition. The lore is solid and well fleshed out, but I'm yet to see if all of it becomes relevant to the game. I would like to see playable side quests that use more of it, and characterize your lesser known party members. Currently, I'm on Chapter 9 though, and at this stage, it's looking less likely. I would consider having no side quests to be one of the few, if only, detriments to this game. All in all, if you like tactics games, have a quart of patience, and are looking for a somewhat deeper story experience, look at the Trungle stratagem. Look at it!